Your question is. So Jason, what's your question? You're trying to
we are number one, so we want to increase the market share of our traditional film business.
Okay.
Okay, so at that time, actually, digital camera just merged and start to replace the starting commercial cameras, portable cameras. So this market start to shrink in this industry, and if we want to expand that our current core competence to a new market, we would like to have following suggestions. The first is that we can have the full service because Kodak is famous for producing films. So now we want not only to sell the film itself, we can provide full service. For example, we open a lot of Kodak stores at the national park or a lot of famous tourist places, and we accept all the traditional cameras. If you after you take your photos, you can come to our stores and we give you a full service from developing all the photos to sell all the cameras and the film itself. So a full service is one of our solutions. And the second one is we want to, for example, as just I said, the digital camera start to begin, but the quality is still not good. So it can only replace the commercial portable cameras. But in the movie industry, for example, like Hollywood, they still use traditional films because of much better quality. So we might want to focus on those industry and collaborate with the Hollywood film production companies to persuade them to use all our Kodak films. Okay, and the third one is we can develop new products such as Polaroid. That means instant developing photos machine. So you don't need to go to a specific camera store to ask them to do that for you. You can do this instantly by yourself. And okay, and the fourth one is by gaining more visibility and marketing, we, as Kodak, we want to held a photography contest. With the contest can only use the Kodak film to do this, and we want to held in an old-fashioned style way. Especially in Chinese, it's called wenqing. So like an artist style. So if we can boost this kind of culture, and we can get more customers to buy our films. So these four are the pros of to increase the market share of our traditional film business. But the cons will be these four actions can only sustain, let's say maybe 3 years, 5 years, a certain amount of time. It's not a long-term solution. So we can use this extended of time to find out our next curve for this one. Thank you.
So the first group, group one, is actually doing pretty good, right? They utilize how to expand the current market share, like creating like wenqing form. This one will create the new market sector. So that's part of our class, right? So that's very good. And also buy the company some time for the next S curve. So it's pretty good. Any questions for group one? Okay, if not, then let's ask the second group to come up.
That's pretty good.
Oh,
That's easy.
Yeah, so the second one is that how you can expand into the digital market, and knowing that the market is already dominated by several large companies. So now first we try to understand what the current core competence of the Coda industry, this company. The first one is that we know that since we were growing from, when we were young, we know that it has been dominated by the Coda for the chemistry films. So we all know this brand. And also that's why the second one, we know that the strength of this company is that the name of this Kodak, just like Nike or any other brand's names we know. So how we can benefit from these two ones, that these are the four things we can think about. The first one is that since Kodak at that time it had a lot of I would say money, so it can invest heavily into some new startup companies. And I think that they can do the research to find out which company has good IP, has good potentials, and they can invest money and put the name that into the digital market. And then now they can quickly catch into that digital film. That's our first thinking. And the second one is that we were thinking that since digital cameras are already dominated, so we can think maybe we can benefit from the network to ask people, okay, you can print out your pictures digitally. I guess just like a Costco service, something like that. So so that would be the similar one like that. And the third one is that we can still benefit from these chemistry films, because we know for some high-end cameras they are still trying to use the chemistry films. So we can, they say, support this one and build very good like higher resolution, even 8K. I'm not sure what the pixels are, but we can basically support this one. And especially because they are less company to support this chemistry film, so they can charge more to get more profit margin on this one. And the fourth one is they try to better utilize their IP, all the intellectual properties they have, they say, and try to expand into a different industry. Just like the previous group said. For example, they can expand their technology into the X-ray, into the all those hospitals, and so they can better utilize their chemistry films. They say you go to a hospital if you want a high resolution to see how bad your internal how do you say organs are. So you can use this one. But all these are the pros. The cons are there are a lot of uncertainty. We don't know if we invest heavily into these new style companies whether we can successful or not, since there are already a lot of companies dominated into the digital film, and now you try to jump into this industry. You have to find out I guess you have to find out how you can jump in and find the get profit from this one. Yeah. So anything our group want to add? I think that's all we are talking about.
Awesome.
Thank you.
I think it's very good that you think about the future market sectors, for example, medical devices, those kind of things, right? And definitely those are high profit margin sector. But how to position yourself into the market is actually something to think about, right? Because the traditional films, if you want to take MRI pictures, say you need 100 pictures and lay them together, right? Definitely you probably want to go to digital camera business. And therefore you can process all the images very fast. right? How to position yourself. So those are the things that if you are the CEO, you need to think about your core competencies and how to get into this kind of markets, right? Any comments, questions?
Very good.
For the sake of
Teamwork.
t-shirt.
Yeah.
Teamwork. We will come in for the t-shirt.
All right, here we go. With that,
Always the best at the last, right?
what is this?
So I don't have any
Okay, good. They don't even need it. Yeah.
because so that all of you will be focusing on me. So the conclusion is that the bottom line is that we're gonna go. Okay. And we're gonna go for it because we have a core competency in the surface protection knowledge of the film, and we're gonna stay with that core and we're gonna expand it there. How we're going to expand that? We're going to diversify the product, and the reason why we can diversify is because we're going to focus on the core technology and we're going to do a niche market on it. So if we take the example that was previously discussed in the group number 2, films for X-rays, for example. Even though the digital you can do a lot at a relatively short amount of time. However, there's still a niche market. There's still a need where the analog film is required by means of either higher resolution, relatively analog exposure that physician make a decision based on, and that digital camera or digital film is not allowed to provide. So if we focus on our core technology and then we diversify the product by focusing on our core technology, focusing on our niche market, we can actually dominate and become the leader in that segment. Okay, and then we find many segments in other industry which the analog film is critical. For example, maybe another example is that some photographers, they're filming their or their photo shoots still looks much better in analog film versus a digital. So that segment is what we want to focus on, and that is what we're doing the best at. And then the third part is that, and then even though there are other lack of understanding of other business, but we can strategize to expand that part to understand the new market by doing acquisition or understanding others by doing collaboration. So that gradually, while we're focusing on our core technology, our niche market, we can extend our hands slowly to other markets, and that will buy us some time to further expand out of our comfort zone of our core technology. So our bottom line again is go, and that's how we're going to do it.
So being more specific on what the business segment you're going to look into based on your core
so basically, the business is going to be focusing on the sector that requires analog film.
So just film.
Film, which is what we do the best.
So you define your core competence is analog film.
We say analog chemistry.
Analog chemistry.
But then you say that you're going to get into, you're going
The
to
film
focus on
is
your
just one
business
example.
will be whatever they need analog.
That's where we discussed. We are in the exploratory mode. Yeah. But the con is the pro and con, right? We talk about pro is to diversify. What's the con part?
Well, the con is that, like, for example, we're going to miss the digital cameras booming.
Okay.
So you scale you more or less photography box. Is that more or less?
That's just as one example, because film itself is one core product, right? That Kodak
I
has.
think you just had a very good example on there are areas require analog.
Right.
And decision making is based on the analog to reflect the true scale.
So to give.
But then what do you propose is no different to group 1, right? Group 1 also proposed to have analog go to movie, entertainment, medical. Whatever needed is the same.
Well, 英雄所见略同的 I'm not trying to put them down or anything.
Oh my God.
Which in this case, I don't think it's good way to but I think it all leads to the
So we understand. Okay.
Yeah.
So the second group has no hope right now.
Awesome.
No, maybe you get
Where you need special one.
Okay. So, thanks for each group. I think it's a very good discussion. But whether this workshop is actually kind of innovative and strategic thinking, right? So there's a hint about the core competency in these companies. Say, for example, the Kodak, Fujifilms. Should we go into? Yeah.
So yeah, go through this one.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe through this one you can go to see how Fuji do and strategic thinking of it.
Yeah. Let's look into what they do differently out of box, other than what we have discussed about. Okay, so let's look into the other company, right?
So we all know Kodak is a big one. So whatever they do,
yeah, we were okay with that. Yeah. At the end, huh?
How they did back then.
What they have done back then.
Which option they choose among the three options? Which one they choose?
They really do 1 and 2 combine one.
Yeah.
They try to do 1 and 2.
Yeah. Okay, so Fuji is successful. Kodak is not. Kodak get into option 1 and 2, right? So they try to expand their market share, and they also try to have digital camera business. But at the end, they get into bankruptcy protection, right? And in the market, you don't see a lot of digital camera out of Kodak. Instead, you have a lot of camera, digital camera from like Sony, from Fuji, Canon, Nikon, right? Those are their expertise. So at the end, Kodak wasn't very successful in this digital market. So let's look into Fuji, how they do differently. Chemical, right? If you want to protect your films after like a couple years, it looks like this, right? But Fuji, they have actually a lot of chemical knowledge where they can protect their film, their photography like this. And this composition is not too far away from our human cells. So what do they transfer themselves? They actually get into the cosmetic business, right? And as you can see, I think Steve used a lot of their product, right? So you don't see it. Secret, sorry. But anyway, if we look into this picture here, right, with the their cosmetic product, they actually created a lot of profit margin out of their core competency by transferring themselves into a different market sector. If I know the contrast here, I definitely will buy, right? For myself, for my wife, and for my friends, right? Kodak, they get into a different choice. They actually go into number 1 and number 2, and later on they went in bankruptcy. But if you think of Fuji, not only they have done this, what else they have? So this one is their profit margin, right? Revenue, their income. Of course, when everybody is not doing well at 2008, 2009, company also got hit. Their revenue actually still kind of decent. And later on, when they transfer themselves, they get into a good profit margin business. So if we look into it, traditional sector is only 15% after they transfer themselves out of their comfort zone, right? Document solutions, information solutions. Those are the two high profit margin at the moment for Fujifilm. So it's kind of different thinking, what we have come up here, right? And of course, this transition is not that easy.
But maybe make a couple points. One is interesting. They get into the cosmetics. You know, one thing is not only this one actually 面膜. In Asia, every lady will got 面膜. They got this. But the thing about we was talking about core competence. Why are they competing in that? Because from a chemistry point of view, they are number 1 and number 2 in the world to understand about this interface. even cosmetic company is not as good as they are. So when they define their core competence on chemistry, then they feel they can compete on that. Right? So this is important. And I think she will also do some research. They also use a digital camera, but they did not compete on the traditional. They competed in the medical imaging. Right? Very specific, very unique type of, the business which is really high margin. They do that. So again, it's how you define the core competence and how you compete. And when they just select the right, you can see the difference between the two companies.
Exactly.
And it's just remarkable. It's totally remarkable. And when I share this one with Steve Russo about Fujifilm right now is in this Myanmar, our CEO is really? I try to convince him to say, hey,
Steve, are they using their own brand name as to use the facial
or they create a new brand name, or they use Fuji?
Asians, or because in that way people might think that.
You don't want to put a Fuji on your face.
No, I
so create a new brand name.
All the marketing, but because otherwise everybody thinks it's him, right?
That's not cool.
Yeah. So to answer your question, actually they
created the other.
I mean, that's smart. Create a new brand. New brand.
There's a question is which company she wants to know.
Have you bought this before?
Yeah, I bought it
left.
before.
Yeah, see, put a film on your face.
Asians 就是那个 Asians 是 Fuji 是洗发精跟什么都有。
So film on your face and hairs.
Become famous brand.
Oh, okay. So that time we should take some money, donation from Fuji. Because right now we actually
do marketing for them. Yeah, doing marketing for them. Yeah.
Okay, so this is out of comfort zone they get into, but transitioning to another S-curve is a must once you are at the end of the S-curve. So those are the things that we try to convey the message to you. First of all, is to utilize your core competency, making different products, and then make money out of those products, first of all. And your core competency is ever changing, right? Depending on the time, the market sector, you probably have to adjust positioning yourself into that different market sector, and therefore you can gain the market share out of it. So, Steve, or any other want to have comments before we?
I think we should also emphasize on the Kodak, how they failed.
Okay.
I think one shocking thing was they are the first inventor of the digital camera back in the 1975. And what happened is the person who invented this and his manager and the VP of the division, they just quickly closed the case, closed the folder, and saying, don't even talk about this. You're going to disrupt our cash cow market. And then at the time, they dominate US market for somewhere close to 80% market share. And what they wanted to do, they want to make the 80% market share into 90% market share. So they don't want any disruption.
Well, but Steve, I agree, but also be careful. And then we discussed it a little bit. If you go look at all the data, all the historical data, never a company been disrupted can able to capture this one because the cost structure is not going to support that. My point is, even if they decide to do digital,
they may still fail.
They're still going to fail.
Why?
Because digital film is much cheaper than what's chemical, profit margin wise. Okay, so I can give you a large example. You look at the mainframe, and the mainframe computer changes to workstation. All companies all change. Even though the mainframe people spend a lot of money on this, and they have all the patent on this, but it's not happening. It's just very interesting if you look at all the data, right? So the point is, even if Kodak decided to do the digital camera, they are still, from all the data, I say they were not successful. Because you have other companies will disrupt that, including Sony and that, right? So, but I think one point I do want to make is today, if you look at the Fujifilm example, it's similar to last week. If you attended last week, remember we're talking about Apple. Apple really successful. What the change they made? iPad. Okay. Exactly. So what happened? Totally different market. You will not even think about it. It was computing. It's a PC company. They take this core competence. They put it in what? iPad. Digital music. Then after this one they dominate everything and become iPhone and that. So it's interesting is like everybody say there seem to be the pattern, how you define your core competence, and willing to go to other different markets. Right. But let's take lots of training, courage. Right? I mean, maybe that's the reason CEO pays so much money. Steve Jobs, everybody think is so great because and I think we need to give the Fujifilm, whoever run this one, a lot of credit on that because take a lot of courage because the pressure phone, stuff folder and all this one. But the successful formula always look like.
Yeah, there has been discussed saying that Japanese company doing the American culture and then American company go back to the Japanese style, which we discussed about last week, right? Yeah. It's just another example saying it's not always the case. Whoever break the comfort zone. Okay.
Can I raise a point that? So so now we see this what we call a successful transition from film to film. During your process, to anyone's knowledge, during their process, has government played any role in assisting them during the transition? Okay. Now thinking back to Taiwan, government has been trying so hard in pushing every sector, but is it going to lead to somewhere, or are we really always going to depend on the government, which is good, but we kind of rely on too much that we forgot that look at other cases in the world that government really play a minimum role when it comes to transition. I'm just saying this is something interesting I've observed.
Well, there's here. I will tell you all the data show what we learn, and that's what the people very, especially. Our government in Taiwan, they totally misunderstand that. They thought the Silicon Valley has no interfere from the government. And if you look at Japan, I believe we can research this. I don't think you have any government involved on how they transform on the Fujifilm. The point is, David, remember every time when we have the meeting with the people from Taiwan, they always keep talking about what the government played a role and all this stuff. We say in Silicon Valley, nobody played a role. Whatever we do, government does not tell us, oh, you need to do this, and you need to do this, and you do this. Even the government, like this green energy, when they try to put the money, none of them successful.
I don't think government can lead the way.
No.
But we can, next time perhaps we can talk about a little bit about what we think government can be a system of. For in this example, say, you capture a few good things, and then the question is that something we should propagate as a education as a concept to say break out of comfort zone, migrate into a new sector.
The 2 point is, Sam, you have brought this last week. I thought was a very good point. Very rare in USA, other than 2009, they do not bail out a company. Bankrupt is good because it's natural evolution, right? So it's S-curve, so they believe in that. Our government, Japanese government, also in trouble right now because they want to change the S-curve. They want content, but it's S-curve. Unfortunately, it's not. Nobody can change that. Even God cannot change that, or maybe he can. But anyway. but again, you cannot. So number one is government should not to try to change that. Number two is government should not determine and make a bet on which industry we should work on. Because there's no successful formula to say that. Meaning the government should not say, okay, we should do green energy, we should do this, we should do this, we should do this. They can give some direction and then people to do that. And then, everybody can chime in. In Silicon Valley, I see it's all companies decide what they want to do. They have their formula, they go through this, and then you will be very surprised. For example, one time we think the green energy solar panel would be so popular. Where is the solar panel? It's not even happening here.
Because they say really the competition is in business, and the people in the front of the competition are most sensitive to what it is about. And government cannot be the front runner. How are they going to lead the way and make that right decision?
No, because the point is nobody knows S-curve. That's the problem, right? I mean, one time we think that's the point I'm trying to. We think it's solar panel, green energy, even in Silicon Valley, but the turnout is not. So what's the next one? Everybody right now think is driverless car. Is this going to be driverless car? To be honest, I don't know. Could be, but one thing for sure, the next industry will be defined by Silicon Valley company. We don't know which company, but we got to be careful because, and that's what Taiwan, I heard about also Wi-Fi something, right? The point is, nobody can define because we don't know. Because this S-curve, you cannot predict. Nobody can predict that. Who can predict the social media like Facebook was so big? And that's a difficult part. I'm just trying to say this one is cannot predict.
So the solution for government is provide no solution.
No. I wouldn't say that because if I see how U.S. operate so far, that is my observation. U.S. government will help R&D funding, NSF funding, to see what's the advanced area they need to invest. They still have that. They still define some old area they don't invest, new area they try to invest, but never get into private sector about what private sector should do. Right, that's one thing. And I know autonomous driving car, the whole concept comes from DARPA project because for military application they set up a competition, set up $1 million prize. So there's a Stanford team, there's all kind of team try to get in there. So eventually Stanford team got hired by Google to run the autonomous driving. So they help technology development in that sense. But they don't really get into business per se. So I wouldn't say government has no function. And the other government function, I think, when Google developed autonomous driving car, the most concern they have, there's no law. So nobody will accept that. So they want to make sure regulation doesn't impede on technology development. So they try to set up regulation to make sure it's not in the way.
Government is like that, right? Just like you play football, right? I mean, everybody watches football. You all the football team. You do not hear them say, okay, hire this one to be the coach. You don't hear that. But you see, put, certain rule about how the football going to play. Then just play, and then they will play to unbelievable level on that, right? So yeah, I think that David says right. Is government a role? Yeah, there's some role on that. But the government role was just, I give you this, right? I allow you to build a stadium and all this one, and there's certain things you cannot do, you cannot kill people and this one. So the government doing this one, but they were not coming to say, oh, no, you can only have this many people play, oh, this one, right? And if they decide to do this one, actually, I would think that the league will decide, right? No government to decide to say, okay, you have the, what they call the salary cap or this one, right? So I thought it's law and responsibility needed very, very clear. For the government need to somehow to involve on where the direction need to go is again, when I say this one also, we gotta be careful. I gotta be careful because it also depends on the time. In Taiwan, maybe 30 years ago, government need to play a lot of role, right? Because we don't, Taiwan does not have a lot of money. Competition is very different. It's just say, hey, we need to do semiconductor. Everybody all doing this one. Then sometimes it's good, right? Everybody all very focused on. But when the situation change, if we use the same formula, it will be not good. And today, especially if we compete in Silicon Valley, I don't think the government need to define too much.
The reason I'm raising it is not to criticize, but just to something that the government also need to think about. That what used to work 30 years ago in terms of subsidizing or policy promoting may not be as effective if you're using it today. But however, it seems like currently with all the policy and motivation are still, at least a lot of it is still similar to what happened 30, 40 years ago by subsidizing, by promoting, by giving fundings and things like that. So that's something I think government can think about. What else or what can it be done in order to push Taiwan forward? But I definitely agree that government still needs to play a role in Taiwan because we're not as a big country in the U.S. We don't have to make the majority of the markets. I think there's one person told me once that in the U.S. like you can have the stupidest idea, you can still make money out of it just because the market is so big that there's always that segment of markets available for you to make profits on. But that's not the luxury that Taiwan has as being small. So the bottom line is I think government definitely needs to play a role, but the mindset, the thinking will definitely need to somehow be different than before.
But you will still stop Taiwan company to come here.
No.
I mean, this market is open for everybody.
So that provides another, a different strategy mindset. Is Taiwan government kind of focusing on how the government can help Taiwan? Is it to help them to grow or help them to move to the market? That's actually different ways of doing things. But that's something that the government can think about. Maybe do something sort of.
Saying government's core competency need change over time.
There you go. There you go. Yes.
But I think that Ye Zhuchang said something, but let me just make a point. We should not talking about too much about government. Okay, we should focus on ourselves. Right? I mean, I hear so many young Taiwanese say it's old Taiwanese. Taiwanese, young say because all the 4年级、5年级、第三4年级的话，young is they are lazy and blah blah, and then老板 say is that we just go through the Guangyang. This and I say guys, it's everywhere is all the same, right? So we should not. No, my point is, and let's come back to this because we just say, he represent government. The point is we should all do our job, right? And I think that's the reason we have this training. I think we have very good Taiwanese, and we all need to realize we should all make improvement ourselves, right? And let's make improvement ourselves. Let's train other people to make improvement, and then the government can issue also make an improvement. If we all make improvement, we will be fine. Because otherwise, this discussion.
I agree. Everybody's focused on your own improvement first.
That's where we started.
Yeah.
Yes, basically I agree that government's role is to establish a friendly environment, include regulations for private sector to develop. Yeah, that's good. And I can share a case for you. A couple of weeks ago, my former boss, told me that President Tsai requested her to propose a new industry policy. Okay, 好，就新的产业政策。But my former boss, suggest do not propose new industry policy because, as her experience, if government set a new industry policy, companies just follow government's law, it might be suffered. So she did not propose a new industry policy. This is the case. But it's very, very interesting that in a former U.S. President Obama, right? Obama proposed industry policy like 重返制造业, right? Yeah. So probably George, you can share Obama's idea.
Yeah. So he basically does because our company we got funding from the U.S. government, and so he basically shared he wants to focus on few areas. So they start the NNMI. It's called the National Network of Manufacturing Innovation. So they focus on few areas because they know Detroit, they know many places. The old industry is dying. They want to create a new 3D printing, robotics. So they create so far 14 different industries: robotics, clean energy, and also 3D printing in many areas. Basically, they want to use those to create all the other. But it doesn't drive it by government; it's driven by corporate actually. So basically, what happened is it's every this NMI center basically is about 20 million, or I don't remember the number, but some big number of money. But actually, 70%, 50 to 70% will be put by the industry, like a big company like Tesla or like any of those big companies, and then the government will match like either half or 1/3, but they want all the big industries to drive all this innovations, and also let's say if any company come up with new ideas and new things, they would like to have the big company to drive that, working with the small company on a lot of those. So they kind of set out the policy for that, and then they can let company to use this platform to help. I think their goal is to use a big company to help the smaller company, the supply chain, on all of that, so they can actually help the whole industry to change. Because right now everything is changing all the time. They want to create all this. They want to find a way how they can collaborate. Like all the institutions, like schools, like Berkeley, Stanford. How they can have all the new IP comes out, and then all the energy labs, like Berkeley National Lab, Berkeley, Livermore, all those labs, they can work together. So I think that's one thing they cannot help on that. Yeah. So I think that's one thing that he did actually.
Sure. I can add to this. Actually, I participate in that.
Yeah.
Actually, booking. Actually, we have meetings. They have this think tank in Washington, and I think I see some of them. They have this initiative, which probably government can do. Start from Obama, they call it advanced manufacturing. So what Obama, when he became president, what he got was the data was very clear. The problem is if you look at the U.S. input and output, right? They still got the so-called output pretty strong, which is from like maybe some aerospace and that. But then the problem is all this manufacturing job is all input from China and other places. And then what they found is the so-called middle class job is all manufacturing. And that's something I think happened to Taiwan. They should think about that. Because without manufacturing, this middle class is all gone. So you got the high-paid people, then you got a whole bunch of people in service organization, meaning it's in a restaurant, in there's a recreation. It pays very well. So they decided to do that. So they try to figure out how to do that, and they had a few brainstorming. So because I involved with the city of Fremont, they define actually this side. My side actually is the advanced manufacturing.
Innovation hub.
Yeah, innovation. So, but anyway, their idea, like you say, is so they have this think tank. They come up with this one. So they involve all the company. They come to Silicon Valley a few times. They have, and then they try to figure out how to do that. So they have some idea, right? So, for example, their idea was can all the design in the Silicon Valley, R&D in Silicon Valley, manufacturing rather in China, can they do in, say, Detroit, say in New Mexico, say in Louisiana, right? And so low-cost area. They are looking at lots of that, and but like George say, they come up with this idea, right? Obama say, hey, let's do this one. Then they have a think tank to come up with this one. Then they have people all connect to this one. They want a company to drive that. Right? They get all the company to drive that. And so when I was, I don't know what I told you, I would think, hey, Taiwanese people think about this. All the manufacturing in mainland China should think about us going to move back to Taiwan. People do not understand. Let me just make a point. People did not understand about how important the manufacturing. When you do the manufacturing, if you got a chance to go to manufacturing site, for example, I will give you an example. If you go to Malaysia, you will see the middle of nowhere. This is one manufacturing site. And you will think about, what did this impact can make? Because the manufacturing there. So like a visitor like us, we got to go there. So what happened? You got a taxi. You got the hotel, restaurant, you got a whole bunch of people. So it's just one manufacturing site that created the revenue, the impact to society is huge. And that's what Obama sees, right? And he wants to bring this back.
Actually, they say every $1 you put in manufacturing company, they pay, the ripple effect is $10 around. So if you lose all the manufacturing, then you lose all the, if you lose all this manufacturing, all the service, all the Taco Bell, whoever there won't be there. So that's why they keep wanting to get all those things.